title. She thought I'd never leave. Then I put my wedding ring on their table. It started with a gut feeling. You know the kind, where your stomach drops before your brain catches up, and suddenly the world feels slightly tilted. That night, I was supposed to meet Bryn for dinner. Her idea. Something different, she said. Let's be spontaneous again. She picked the place. Evelyn's, a trendy bistro that always felt too expensive for what they served. But she loved the atmosphere. I got there early. She was already there. She didn't know I could see her from the window. She was in a corner booth, dimly lit, laughing. But not alone. He was sitting across from her. Tall, confident posture. That, I know what I'm doing here, energy. Bryn was leaning in, smiling in that mouth curled, eye soft way she hadn't smiled at me in months. It wasn't work. It wasn't a friend. It was a man who thought she was his. I should have turned around. Left. Spared myself. But I didn't. I walked in like I belonged there. Like I hadn't just watched my marriage dissolve through a window. She didn't see me at first. Neither did he. They were too busy playing house in a restaurant I paid for with overtime hours and believing she meant it when she said, I'm just tired lately. I walked straight to their table. She looked up, eyes wide, like I'd just emerged from her past to ruin her perfectly staged evening. Ellis, she said. I didn't look at her. I looked at him. He didn't move. Just looked at me with that blank predator stare men like him always have, the kind that dares you to flinch first. I didn't. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out my wedding ring. It was warm from my palm. I looked at her now and said it soft. You can keep this. Then I set the ring on the table, right between their wine glasses. Bryn opened her mouth. I walked away before she could lie to me with it. I stepped out of Evelyn's and into the cold. And for the first time in years, I felt clear. Not okay, not whole, but clear. She called me 17 times that night. I didn't answer. What could she say? That wasn't what it looked like. It meant nothing. I was just lonely. I'd heard all those before. From other people. I never thought my wife would be the one saying them. I drove around the city until my gas light blinked on. Didn't know where I was going. Just needed movement. Because grief needs motion. If you sit still too long, it climbs inside you and locks the doors. At 2:37 a.m., she sent the first long text. Ellis, please talk to me. I know how it looked, but it's not what you think. I need to explain. Please. Followed by, can I come home? Home. Like the word still meant something. I turned off my phone. Went home alone. Slept on the couch. The bed smelled like her. I couldn't do it. I didn't cry that night, which surprised me. I think I'd already cried all those tears over the version of her I wanted to believe in. The woman who kissed my forehead when I was sick. Who once wrote, I still choose you in a card on our anniversary. But that version was a ghost now. And I'd just seen the living, breathing woman who replaced her. In the morning, I found her keys on the floor inside the front door. She'd come home while I was sleeping. I don't know if she sat in the driveway debating. I don't care. She didn't come in. I locked the door. I made coffee. Drank it black. No toast. No eggs. Just silence. And for once, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Like my brain was finally catching up with my heart and saying, you're allowed to stop hurting now. The next time I saw her, she was holding 2 coffees and the look of a woman who'd been rehearsing. She knocked, softly. Then again. Then, Ellis, please, just talk to me. I opened the door. Not because I forgave her. Not because I missed her. Because closure is best served with eye contact. She stepped in like someone entering church. Cautious. Unworthy. Her heels clicked across the wood floor that still held our Christmas tree stand marks. She handed me a cup. I didn't take it. I didn't sleep, she said. I didn't answer. She stood there like an actress whose scene partner had forgotten his lines. I know how it looked, she started. You were sitting across from him, I said, finally. You were laughing. I was nervous. You were glowing. She flinched. There it was. That tiny tell. Because the worst thing you can say to a guilty person? That they looked happy. She sat down on the armrest of the couch. The one she used to curl up on with a blanket she always stole from me. Nothing happened, she said. We just had drinks. And what's his name? Ellis, you kissed him. She paused. Then, yes, once. How many times before that? Her silence grew teeth. I sat in the chair across from her. No yelling. No drama. Just disbelief dressed in exhaustion. Why him? She shrugged. He listened. I did too. Not like that. That one cut. Because I did listen. to her dreams, her complaints, her half-baked goals, her childhood trauma. The way she said my name when she was scared. I knew her like blueprint. And she threw all of that away for a man she met 6 weeks ago. You've been slipping away for months, I said. I tried. I asked. You kept saying you were just tired. I was, she whispered. No, I said. You were cheating in slow motion. She tried to cry. She really tried. But the tears didn't come. Not the way they used to. Not the way they had when her dog died. Or when we watched that dumb movie where the father gets hit by a train. This was forced grief. A sadness dress rehearsal. She stood and walked toward me. I still love you. No, I said. You love me loving you. That's not the same. She bit her lip. The way she used to when she was caught lying as a teenager. She once told me that herself. I watched her try to be 17 again, too cute to be guilty. But we're not kids anymore. And I'm not an idiot. You put the ring on the table, she said. In front of him. Yeah. Why? I stood now. Walked toward the kitchen. Poured myself water. I wanted him to know he wasn't winning anything, I said. Just inheriting a war zone. She sat back down. I leaned against the fridge, watching her sit in the silence. She hated silence. Always had. Do you want a divorce? She asked finally. I want peace. That's not an answer. I shrugged. It's the only one I have left. We sat there for another 10 minutes. No yelling. No smashing plates. Just grief sitting on the furniture like an extra house guest we couldn't ask to leave yet. She left without a hug. Without closure. She asked if she could come back once we both cooled off. I said nothing. Because I wasn't the one on fire. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not because I had to. Because that room never smelled like her. I dreamed I was on a boat. Alone. In the middle of a wide, gray ocean. No storm. No sharks. Just me. And quiet. When I woke up, I felt better than I had in weeks. I deleted her number the next morning. Not blocked. Not punished. Just removed. Because if you have to think twice before calling your wife, she's not your wife anymore. I didn't rush to heal. I didn't shave my head or go on a silent retreat or text someone from college who used to like my photos at 2 a.m. I just cleaned. It started with her closet. Her shoes, her scarves, her color-coded makeup trays, all of it was still there like she'd only stepped out to grab milk. But I knew better. She wasn't coming back. Not to this version of me. So I folded. Boxed. Sorted. Not like a man who was grieving. Like a man clearing the crime scene. There were small things I found that broke me more than her lies ever did. A love note I'd written in a lunch bag. Still folded. Never opened. A scarf I'd bought her in Vermont. Still with the tag. She told me she lost it. A candle labeled Fresh Start. Burned once, then shoved in the back of a drawer. Symbolism? Heavy-handed, but accurate. I didn't throw it all out in some dramatic, I'm free now, montage. I donated some. Kept 1 or 2 things I bought for myself. Because not everything in that house was poisoned. I still lived there. And I wasn't the one who needed to disappear. I started walking in the mornings. No headphones. No podcasts telling me how to rise above or detach with love. Just sidewalk, birds, and breath. I walked until I didn't think of her. Then I kept walking. Because freedom isn't forgetting. It's remembering and not needing to fix it. Bryn texted. Of course she did. You left the light on in the garage. Can I grab some of my stuff? I waited 2 hours. Then replied. Leave a list. I'll box it. She responded instantly. Ellis, can we be civil? I left her on read. Because I was being civil. I didn't key her car. I didn't post screenshots. I didn't tell her parents. I just stopped being her audience. And nothing enrages narcissists more than silence. She sent a longer message a few days later. Paragraphs about how she was lost and confused and pressured by my stability. She said she missed my laugh. That her new life didn't feel like hers. That she thought the problem was boredom, but now she realized it was guilt. It read like a monologue she'd written for herself in the mirror. I didn't reply. Because it wasn't written for me. I started cooking again. Not just frozen meals. Real food. Spices. Sauces. The whole chopping board thing. I burned my first steak. Oversalted the second. But I smiled anyway. Because I wasn't cooking for approval anymore. I was feeding the man who stayed. My sister called. Asked if I wanted to go with her to a concert. Before, I would have said no. Bryn hated crowds. But now? Now I said yes. We drank beer from plastic cups and screamed lyrics we barely knew. And I felt younger than I'd felt in years. not because of nostalgia, because there was finally room in my life for joy. I caught myself singing in the car one day. Windows down. Old song. No audience. No performance. Just air and melody in me. And I almost cried. Not because I missed her, but because I didn't. And that scared me in a beautiful way. You don't realize how much weight you've been carrying until you stop justifying the pain. She used to tell me I was too sensitive, too intense, too available. But that's not weakness. That's capacity. And she never deserved it. One night, I found a sticky note I'd left on her laptop years ago. Love isn't loud, but I see you. I read it again, then stuck it to my own mirror. Because that note was never for her. It was for the man who wrote it. And he's still here. It started with a knock I didn't expect. Sunday, late morning, overcast. The kind of day that used to mean errands, blanket movies, or making a mess in the kitchen while I pretended not to care. Now it just meant quiet. And I liked it that way. Then the knock. Not loud. Just enough to feel intentional. I opened the door. There she was. Hair curled. No makeup. Hoodie slightly oversized. The look of someone trying to appear vulnerable without looking like she's trying. Hey, she said. I nodded. Didn't invite her in. She rocked on her heels a bit. I just wanted to talk. No, I said. She blinked. 5 minutes. No. She smiled, soft and slow. You always hated making a scene. I don't need to. You already made one for both of us. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a letter. Folded. Thick. Clearly agonized over. I took it. Not for her sake. Because I wanted to know how desperate she'd gotten. She looked at me, waiting. I said nothing. She finally broke the silence. I messed up. You did. I was confused. You were consistent. That one hurt her. Not because it was cruel, because it was true. Ellis, I still ill. No, I said. Let me finish. You finished. You finished when you chose him. You finished when you let me set that ring down and watch me walk out of that restaurant without chasing me. Her eyes welled up. She didn't cry, but she was close. She tried again. I thought I needed more. Space. Adventure. Something else. I nodded. You did. She tilted her head. But now I miss you. You miss being forgiven. That stopped her cold. You miss the safety. You miss who I was with you. But you don't want to become the person I deserved. She opened her mouth. I kept going. You don't miss me. You miss being adored. And I'm not your cheerleader anymore. The wind picked up. She wrapped her arms around herself. No coat. Because of course she didn't wear a coat. She wanted to look raw. Exposed. Like this was all accidental. I stepped back. Held the door slightly open. You should go, I said. She looked up. Stunned. Ellis, I wrote you a letter. And I'll read it. Then I'll throw it away. Because I already know how it ends. Her jaw tensed. And that's when I saw it, the shift. The mask cracking. Not into grief. Into resentment. Because I wasn't giving her the scene she came for. She stepped forward. You're not even gonna try? I did. When? Every time you said, I'm just tired, and I believed you. Ellis. Every time I asked what was wrong and you said nothing while texting someone else. Please don't do this. Every time I stayed. Silence. I did try. But you weren't there. She didn't have a response. So she did what people like her always do. She played the nuclear card. I still love you. I smiled. Not cruel. Free. No, Bryn, I said. You love what I made you feel about yourself. But you never learned how to love me back. She turned. Didn't storm off. Just walked slow, the performance unraveling. She got into her car and sat there. I didn't watch her leave. I closed the door. Locked it. Set her letter on the counter. Stared at it for a second. Then tossed it, unopened, into the trash. I poured myself coffee. Sat on the couch. And felt nothing. Not pain. Not regret. Not rage. Just peace. Later that evening, my neighbor knocked. I helped her carry in groceries. We talked about weekend plans. She invited me to a small dinner with a few friends. No pressure. I said I'd think about it. And for the first time in years, I wanted to say yes. That night, I lit a candle I'd forgotten about. One she always hated. It smelled like sandalwood and possibility. I left the windows open. Let the cold air in. Let her out. I didn't check my phone. Didn't wonder if she was still parked down the street. Because she no longer got to occupy space she didn't earn. I didn't open the letter. That's the part one keep going back to. Not because I wonder what it said. I know what it said. The same recycled poetry every guilty person throws into a page like it can unruin the past. But I didn't open it, because my healing didn't need her permission. That was new for me. The next morning, I did something small. I changed my voicemail. Used to be both our voices. Used to say, "We'll get back to you soon." Now it's just mine. Simple. Short. Mine. I took a photo of the sunrise on my way to work. It wasn't dramatic. Just pale pink bleeding into gray. But it felt honest. So I made it my phone background. Because this is what recovery looks like. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just real. You wake up. You breathe. You don't miss them. You don't miss who you were around them. You just live. I joined a writing group. Started journaling again, not to vent, but to explore. I wrote about dull pain and small joys, and how no one ever tells you that the worst part of betrayal isn't the cheating. It's the way it makes you question your own memory. Was it ever good? Was I ever really loved? But eventually, you stop asking. Not because the answers come. Because you realize they don't matter. I said yes to the dinner invite. Wore a real shirt. Showed up on time. Brought a bottle of wine I couldn't pronounce. And there was laughter. Not forced. Not filler. Just humans being humans. And I didn't feel like a man recovering. I felt like a man arriving. I ran into someone later that week. June, from high school. We used to sit near each other in history. She recognized me first. We caught up. Laughed about our terrible teacher. She asked if I'd want to grab coffee sometime. I said yes. Not because I was ready for a relationship, but because I wasn't afraid of myself anymore. A month passed. Then two. I forgot the sound of Bryn's ringtone. The house no longer smelled like her shampoo. And one night, I looked in the mirror and realized. This man is better than the one she left. Not stronger. Not colder. Just free. One afternoon, I cleaned out the drawer. The one where I used to keep our anniversary cards, movie tickets, love notes, sticky notes she left on my lunch. I read one. Then another. Then stopped halfway through the third and laughed. Because it felt like fiction. I didn't cry. I didn't save them. I just let them go. The best part? I don't need anyone to clap for me. There's no audience here. No dramatic arc. Just quiet. Real, beautiful quiet. And in that silence, I found something better than love. I found enough. Not the version of me I gave to her. Not the man who begged. Not the man who waited for change. The man who never needed to be fixed in the first place. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.